This is a quick rundown on the instrumentation I use in my 2019 Ford F450 Platinum Edition. Not sure if all the other F350s, 250s, and so on, if they have the same layout or not, but this is what's in the Platinum F450 2019. So we're going to take a look down here, and you're going to see that it has, there it is, a push button start. So do that, then this is what pops up. Part of it is analog, as you can see. The other part is digital. You'll see that the digital, try to get in a little closer here, digital works really good. Haven't had any problems with it. This is the default that it comes up to, and right now this is the towing mode, and this lets you know that what it is on towing status, and whether it's in 2-wheel, 4-wheel, and also it gives you what the brake setting is. That's the 7.1 that you see there. Sorry about that. And then you see the mileage. You also see what drive you have it in and the direction that you're pointing. So next thing is, let's go over to where I normally go when I start off, and that would be to trip and fuel info. So trip, it's just a trip odometer, and let me pull back a little and show you. This right here is your navigation for the different things on the dash. So if you push it, you can see how it's moving there in the background, so you can go that direction. And then when you get to what it is that you want, you hit the OK in the middle, and then that brings it up. So now you'll see that it's showing that top left is the amount of time that the engine has been running since you reset it, which is pretty handy, although not too, I don't use it very much. But next to that, on that top line, is the 682 miles to empty. Keep in mind, this has the 48-gallon fuel tank. This is the 6.7 Power Stroke. It's a crew cab dually, so just as a point of reference. Down below is on the left is the trip odometer itself, so 5.8 miles on this last trip, and the average miles per gallon that you made on that trip. It's now showing at 9.6. So that's pretty much the information, except for across the top you'll see that it's showing oil pressure running about the middle. It stays there. Next is the coolant temperature, that C to H, and that stays there. If it goes above, if it gets hot, you'll see numbers that will show up above that to show you what it's running at. Haven't had an issue on this at all. Got up above, a little bit above half once, pulling through the Rockies, pulling the 42-foot fifth wheel trailer that we have. Next to that is the fuel gauge, and that's showing also 681 miles to empty. And then the turbo PSI boost. It's nice to have that there. That's an option. I'll show you, but you can put something else in that place. I just like to see when the turbo is working. So moving to the next screen here that I use is the truck info. On this, as you can see at the top, is the gauge view. You push that, and now you can see transmission temperature, and you can also see diesel exhaust fluid level. I think it holds 7.5 gallons, so I try to keep it, once it gets down to half, I'll put another bottle of the peak def in it. And the transmission temperature is like the oil temperature. It will, if it's, or heat temperature, excuse me, coolant temperature. If it gets hot, it'll show you in degrees how far it is, which is really pretty handy because you're never quite sure sometimes with some vehicles what the actual temperature is on some of these things. So that's the way that shows. We're going to back out of this and go now to digital speedometer. Pretty self-explanatory there. Don't really use that myself. Diesel exhaust fluid status. Then again, def level okay. But that gauge is the one I use the most because that lets me see where it's at in relation to the tank, whether it's full, half full, whatever. So don't use that one. Engine information, I use this a lot, and I use this mainly for the oil temperature. Right now it's running at 192. When you're driving down the road, most of the time it's around 205, even while I'm pulling the trailer. So it helps me keep an eye on what the oil temperature is. In particular, I use it a lot to know where I'm at when I start it up of a morning before I put the engine under much of a load. I don't let it idle too much. I just try to keep it moving relatively slow in the RPM range anyway until it gets up at least over 100. So, and then after that I still kind of baby it until it gets to operating temperature. So that's also got engine hours. That's a total number of engine hours, and also engine idle hours. So that's that information. Towing status. This is really helpful for me because this tells me, again, towing status. This is the default screen that comes up, and that towing status that I use is not so much on this screen. The towing information, accumulated miles, that's how many miles I pulled the trailer since it was reset, since it was set up. And then trailer blind spot, not available. Right now I'm not hooked up to the trailer, but the blind spot does work when you've got all the information put in there. So trailer light check, no trailer detected, but when you're plugged in, you hit that and it'll give you either an okay or not okay. I've never seen it not okay, but it gives you an okay so that you know everything is good with your lights. And then trailer tire pressure, I don't have the trailer set up. I have a separate unit that's on the trailer for the tire pressure. So this gives you then trailer setup, and you can go into this screen to set up the trailer, select trailer. You can do, whichever trailer it is that you're wanting to do. I just default it to that. And then change trailer settings. You can go in there, rename, reset, trailer distance, blind spot measurement, add blind spot. A lot of different information on here. This particular screen is not available to you when you're moving. The other ones are, believe it or not, but not this one. So then this is off-road. This is a four-wheel drive, so you can see the insignia there. I haven't really had it off-road. Mainly got the four-wheel drive for convenience of, you know, getting it out somewhere and wanting to be able to get back, but I don't off-road in this. And then settings, pre-collision, cruise control, distance to empty calculation, gauge selection. So you can do this. Now, remember I said earlier that that upper right corner was, you could reset that to whatever it was that you wanted it to be. So I said that I put it at turbo boost, but you can also do it to transmission temperature. Like, for example, if you're in the mountains and you want to make sure you know what that transmission temperature is doing, you can actually hit the OK button right there. So hit that, and then once you then move, you'll see it pop up. Now there's the transmission temperature that will let you know if the transmission starts to overheat. And it's really nice because, again, it does it in degrees Fahrenheit, so that if anything starts to go wrong, you've got it there and able to do it. So, any event, hope you like the video. If you have any questions on anything, be sure and let me know. And please subscribe and like.